This series of Caravan of Garbage is sponsored by Loot Crate, the monthly subscription service where you get epic, geek, and gamer items. I'm just going to quickly recommend one for you, Mason.
I'm ready.
It's the limited edition Star Wars Loot Crate box.
I gotta get it now. It's limited edition.
It's limited edition-wise.
Oh.
It's $150 worth of value, and you get
So you guys, if you're listening, do not get this box because I want to get this box. So don't get it. All right? I understand this is an ad, and this is against. I just want.
You want it.
Yeah.
I understand. You get things like, there's like a BB-8 mug, there's like t-shirts, there's a satchel, there's a little Kylo Ren like command shuttle, a bunch of great stuff. So Mason, if you're interested in that, you can use...
Clearly I am.
You can go to lootcrate.com/weeklyplanet for $3 off any subscription. And I say, more like Loot Crate. That's what I say, Mason. Welcome to the Weekly Planet's Caravan of Garbage, the show where we discuss comic books or movies or other things that might not be so great, but maybe they are great, but generally they're probably not so great.
We're gonna sift through the bargain bin, basically, and read and watch some stuff so you don't have to.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll find some hidden gems along the way, but probably not.
Unlikely. Today, Mason,
Yes.
I'm going to tell you the story of Star Wars Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Oh,
You familiar with that?
this is a tweener.
Yes, it is a tweener.
Because it's set between a couple of the Star Wars movies.
It is.
But I can't remember which
it's
ones.
It's set after A New Hope, before
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back. But here's the thing.
Yes.
It was a novelization from, I think, 1978, written by Alan Dean Foster.
Oh, the great Alan
Exactly.
Dean Foster.
And he like ghost wrote...
Fosso.
He ghost wrote the first Star Wars novel. It says George Lucas on the cover, but it's
yes.
actually Alan Dean Foster. And a bunch of other like adaptations. He also did The Force Awakens, actually. And you know, he's been around that
He's
bloke.
great at looking at a script, taking words from the script, putting it in a slightly different format.
Correct. And
Sometimes there's a scene in there that they took out of the movie. It's still in there for some reason.
still in there.
That's a movie novelization. That's a movie novelization.
the purpose of this one, though, it's got an interesting backstory because it was written as a follow-up to the original Star Wars if Star Wars tanked.
Interesting.
So George Lucas was like, well, look, this probably isn't going to do well, and everybody keeps yelling at me and telling me it's not going to do well.
And I just don't understand people. I can't talk. I don't understand their facial expressions. What are they saying and mean? I don't know.
Exactly. So he went to...
I hope I'm a billionaire one day.
That's right.
That's all I can hope for.
He went to Old Fosso, and he was like,
yeah.
listen, I need a story, but I need it so if we do adapt it, it's low budget. So we can't have all the space battles and all the crazy stuff that happened in the first one.
We can't have all the big stars.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly right. So it was written with that in mind. So at the beginning, he made him take out a aerial dogfight or a space dogfight. Sorry.
A spog fight.
A spog fight.
That sounds dirty. I'm gonna use it forever now.
That's right. It was set on like a jungle planet with a lot of fog, so it hides the limitation of
Very
sets
good,
and
yeah.
whatnot. And also they were like, there's no way we'll get Harrison Ford back.
Right.
So write him out.
Yeah,
So Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, that's who it's kind of centered around. And the two droids who we all know and love. Droido and Droid-E.
Yeah, Droido and Droid-E, exactly, those guys.
No.
Now, were elements of this taken out and put into other?
Yeah, there's little bits along the way that you kind of recognize, like it is a swamp planet like Dagobah.
Like Dagobah, yeah.
But there's elements of the Force which are no longer canon, which they've removed, like the power of...
Crystals?
Yeah, the power of crystals, exactly. Like the Kyber Crystal, which is spelled different to the Kyber Crystals they use now. Like it can harness the power of the Force and all that kind of stuff. So it's like a MacGuffin.
You put it up the Kyber. You put it right up the Kyber, and that increases your force powers 100-fold.
Correct. That's exactly right. So basically, it's this novelization, but of a movie that was never made. But I didn't read the book, Mason.
Okay, good.
Because I've heard it's...
Why would you?
I've heard it's not great, but there's...
I think I read it when I was like 8.
You probably
So I
did.
cannot help you.
Well,
I remember is there's crystals in your bum.
That's right.
That's all I know.
Well, it's got the distinction of being the first ever expanded universe Star Wars novel.
That's right, yeah.
So it's pretty interesting from that perspective. But there was a comic that was that was released in 1995, 1996. It's 4 issues. And because it's got pictures and the like, I thought that's easier for me to follow.
So much
And I could
easier.
just kind of vaguely skim it and then just recount it to you.
Great.
Ready to go?
No.
Oh.
Wait. Now I am.
Good. Okay, so it starts with Luke and Leia. They're in a Y-wing and an X-wing.
Question.
Yes.
Can I ask questions throughout
Yeah,
this?
of course you can.
Okay, great.
You can ask as many questions as you want. Just don't expect accurate or coherent answers.
Love it.
Okay, so they crash land on this planet on the way to this system that they want to convert to the Rebel Alliance cause.
Oh, yes.
Right? And because it's a very pressing issue because Leia's like, listen, we need all the help we can get. And holy crap, I'm crashed on this bloody swamp planet. I can't believe it.
What did they crash in? X-Wing?
Luke in his X-Wing, Leia in a Y-Wing.
Oh, so they both crashed.
They both. Oh, actually, her ship's damaged and crashes. Then Luke's ship gets hit with lightning and crashes, and it's very similar to when he crashes at Dagobah, except his ship is completely busted. So they're like, "Wow, we're shipless, mate." So they kind of reconvene on the planet, and they've got this. They find this signal, and they're like, "Oh, it's a beacon, and maybe it's some kind of scientific outpost and the like, and we'll be able to get transportation off
Let's see
here."
how many scientific outposts I feel in the Star Wars universe. It's mostly just...
Well, they're not basing their stories, their adventures around them, are they?
No.
I'm sure they're out there.
I mean, it's mostly just, oh, we've landed on an asteroid. Oh, monsters stick on your face. Oh, God.
That's right.
No time for science.
No time for science.
Blasters.
Well, look, there's no time for science here
If
either.
you like science, go to bloody Star Trek, nerds.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's not a scientific outpost, luckily, because thank God, how boring, I know.
God.
Yeah. So it turns out to be this Imperial mining facility, this illegal mining facility,
Ooh.
where they're, I don't know, harnessing, I don't know, power for whatever.
Yeah,
you know what they're up to.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So what they do, they come across this, like, it's like a town, it's like a kind of a western-ish kind of town, you know, it's all cowboy-y, filled with miners. So they steal some mining outfits, kind of similar to how they steal the Stormtrooper outfits, I guess, in the first Star Wars, but they're like these sleek black miners outfits.
Look, we don't have enough money for space battles and spog fights, but we know what people want, and they want a quick outfit change.
Exactly. And that's what we get. So, and they're pretty form fitting. You can see Luke's abs, which I appreciate. He looks great,
and
if
his
I'm
dick
honest
print.
with you. You can't see his dick print. But as they're walking in, Luke's just takes a shot at Leia. He's like, "Oh, you walk like a princess, bloody get it together. We're supposed to be miners." Just takes a shot for no reason.
That's very Han Solo.
It is, isn't it?
So they just gave some of Han Solo's mannerisms to Luke Skywalker.
Well, that's the thing. The idea of this story was to make him more brash and brave and
More Han Solo.
More Han Solo. And also...
And less Luke Skywalker.
And less Luke Skywalker because, you know, he's obviously had some growth since he blew up the Death Star and killed all those people. So he's feeling pretty good about himself.
Yeah.
And also, this isn't so much in the comic, but there's a lot of sexual tension between them.
Because they hadn't yet established that.
That's right, that they're very much related. As related to somebody as you can pretty much get.
Absolutely.
So they go into this bar, and it's very reminiscent of all the Star Wars bars, like it's filled with aliens or whatever. And they're like, "Oh, we've been walking for days or whatever. We need some food." So they order some Star Wars stuff, probably some blue milk and weird steaks or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, those things, yeah.
And as they're eating, Leia just freaks out. She like gets up and she's like, "We're gonna be found out. They're gonna find us." And Luke
With that attitude.
Exactly. Luke winds up and just clips her across the face.
Huh.
And
I don't remember reading that as a kid.
Yeah, I know, right? But he passes it off as, because some Imperials come over and go, "You know what? You kind of look like a miner, Luke Skywalker, or whoever you are, because your hands are calloused, because he's a farmer."
Oh,
So that's
yeah.
pretty sweet. But he's like, "What's with this one? Her hands are all dainty and whatever." And he's like, "Oh, no, she's my slave or whatever. That's what that is." And they're like, "Okay, you're all right. You're all right, Luke.
Huh.
I mean, whoever you are."
We're okay with... Luckily, we're okay with slavery on this planet. You got away with it.
Exactly. So this old woman rocks up to them.
Uh-huh.
Called Hala or Hala. I'm just going to call
So
it.
many characters
I
in
know.
this.
I'm just gonna...
Upwards of 3 characters. And some cowboys.
Well, the droids are in it.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
What have they done?
Nah, they're outside the city, just waiting in the
Oh, yeah.
muck, I
Great.
guess.
Mm,
I don't
yeah.
know, if I'm honest with you. So she comes
Well,
up.
I think it's high time for some sort of spin-off where we find out... Because we've already got this. Let's find out what the droids were up to. Somebody can
You
write
want a
that.
spin-off of this spin-off?
Yes.
Kind of thing. Absolutely.
That is no longer canon.
That is
yes.
no longer canon. So,
What about this is no longer canon?
Yeah.
The droid spin-off still in canon.
just convolute the lore.
Mm-hmm.
Lucasfilm come out and say, "Listen, we're making nothing canon except this minor story."
What we're doing is we're spinning off all the old spin-offs that aren't canon anymore, but all the new spin-offs will be canon.
I would love that.
And then you guys have to fill in the dots. You guys have to join the dots yourselves. We don't care anymore. You'll still watch them. You'll watch. If anything, people would watch them more. If you were like, "We're just going to lay all this out. You have to join the dots."
Yeah.
People will be like, "Well, now we have to see them 10 times each."
You're probably right, actually.
Hmm.
Oh, man. I think you're onto something.
Okay,
something terrible.
I think what we should do is we should create some sort of decades-long award-winning movie franchise, and then once we've already made it successful, we do that.
Okay.
And then we'll rake it in.
I love it. So this old woman rocks up and she's like, listen, hey, you've got the Force, don't you, Luke?
What?
And he's like, hey, come on. None of that.
Steady on.
Yeah.
We've all had a drink in here. We've all slapped a slave in here, all right, mate? Just steady, be cool.
And she's like, listen, relax. I'm also with the Force. Don't worry about it. And she moves.
Wait, does she know his name?
No.
Okay.
I'm assuming he tells her at some point. And then she moves the salt shaker on the table just slightly. He's like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's not amazing.
It's not
But
amazing.
I guess it is amazing at that point in Star Wars because when have you seen somebody move something?
That's true.
So I guess maybe it is amazing. But she's like, listen, what I got for you, I can get you off this planet. I can get you a ship and we'll get out of here, right?
Uh-huh.
But I need you to help me steal this thing called the Kyber Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing that focuses the Force, and you'll love it, and whatever. But I need it because I'm all about that.
Uh-huh.
And they don't believe her, and she hands them a shard, and he touches it and's like, the Force, it runs through me. Like he has this weird freak out, and he's like, right, listen, if the Empire gets this, we're going to be in some serious trouble because of all the vague powers that it has.
Yeah.
So listen, we'll steal the crystal. We'll
There's
get off
upwards
the
of
planet.
one person in the Empire who can use the Force.
That's right. Exactly. So they go to leave. Leia pushes Luke in the mud
Yep.
and says, that's for slapping me.
Yeah, nice.
Not the time, but hey. I mean, you can push him in the mud, but maybe wait for a bit. Maybe till you get out of the town.
Maybe wait until you've finished doing this. You've escaped the planet. You've gone to this other planet.
Yeah.
You get him to join the rebellion. You go back to like the rebel base. Then you have like a pit of mud built, and then you push. Then you have a medal ceremony for Luke.
So he's all dressed up.
He's all dressed up in his whitest whites, and then he puts the medal on, and then you push him in.
That's right. But because she pushes him in, these mining kind of enforcers come up. They're like, the bullies, the tough miners. Yeah. And they come up and they're like, hey, listen, slaves shouldn't be pushing around miners or whatever. That's not on.
Uh-huh.
And one of them grabs Leia around like the throat. Mm-hmm. And Luke gives him the old bloody judo chop.
Oh, yes.
Because it's the 70s.
It's the 70s, yeah.
And then from that, we get this kind of brawl. And this is where we see that Luke...
How effective do you think a karate chop is?
I think you'd break your hand before you broke someone's arm. Let's put it...
Look, it's a little bit later. I'm gonna go to YouTube and look up karate chops. Just maybe most extreme karate chops and see what happens.
Everybody should look up the video of a guy attempting to break the world record for breaking as many coconuts as he can in a row with his bare hands.
Uh-huh.
And you'll see that he breaks a grand total of 0.
Great.
He hits about 20, but he breaks none.
He's lined them all up.
He's lined them
ready
all
to go.
up.
Okay,
yeah.
sure. So he hits one, nothing, and then he's like, well, I'll move on to the next
Yeah.
one. Maybe that'll be a lighter one, and then maybe I'll return to the first one.
'Cause I've softened it up.
You've softened it up, right. It's the opening a jar theory.
That's right.
Of breaking
a coconut.
Mm-hmm.
So this fight breaks out. The woman's like, I'm out. She leaves.
Yeah.
So, that party's like quickly broken up. And this is when we see that Luke's he's grown more kind of effective than what he was. Because the guy kind of grapples him from behind. And this is actually pretty awesome. He turns on his lightsaber in his belt and it goes straight through the guy's leg.
Ah.
And then he's just classic old school Luke Skywalker, just chopping wood. Like he takes off a dude's hand and it's amazing.
As long as people are being dismembered.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, people love space battles and spog fights. They love them. We don't have the budget, but we do have the budget for what people love, which is people being dismembered.
All out.
Yeah,
yes. So it's pretty bloody fantastic. So then the Imperials rock up, the stormtroopers, and they're like, you're all under arrest for bloody fighting. That's not on. So they take him back to their facility. And there's a guy there called, what's his name? Captain Supervisor Grammel.
Captain Supervisor. Now, is he a man who supervises captains?
I don't know. That's just what they call it.
Is he a captain and supervisor?
Maybe he's both. He's a captain. It's like Grand Moff. Captain Supervisor.
No, it's not.
It's not like that. Look.
Because a moff isn't a verb.
I guess you're right.
I'm going to do some moffing.
Listen, hold the fort while I moff up, yeah? So that guy's kind of crazy.
Uh-huh.
And he takes out one of the other miners' eyes.
Yes.
For starting a fight in the street.
Wow.
Which is kind of...
So there's... Okay, sure. So the mining enforcers themselves have broken the rules.
Yeah, because they're like, this is miners' code. And the Imperials are like, that's not a real thing. I'm going to take one of your eyes. So then they go to Luke. What's going on? Who
And
are
then,
you?
then these other guys show up and they're like, that's not the optician's code. We're going to overrule you.
So he goes to Luke, listen, you and your friend here, you don't have any ID. You're in fights in the street. Who are you? And he's
Yeah.
like, listen, I'm going to level with you. We're not miners. We're actually criminals and blackmailers from another planet. We're just jumping planet to planet to kind of get out of here. And he's like, listen, that's not better. So,
That's the dumbest thing you could have possibly said.
so listen, I'm going to take that crystal shard off you. I'm going to bloody lock you up.
How would he know?
They saw him in the bar. They saw him
sure.
pass it off in the bar.
You
yeah.
saw him go. They saw Luke Skywalker go, this is full of force powers, and Darth Vader certainly shouldn't have it.
So Grammel goes and calls Vader.
Yes.
And he's like, listen, I have a woman that looks exactly like Princess Leia. And Vader's like, right, hold on to them. I'm on my way. Do not fuck this up.
Yes.
Right? So they throw Luke and Leia in this cell, and there's two Yuzum in there. They're kind of like just big monkey
I know what... I don't know what that.
They're just two big, like, monkey Wookiees. But they befriend them.
Oh, yes.
And Luke uses the Force with the old lady who comes back to the window to move like a food tray to press a button on a wall to open the door.
Or do they team up with the
They
Force?
team up. I mean, he could have just pressed it with his
Could have
mind,
pressed
I
it, yeah.
assume. But look, what do I know?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the Force or Kyber Crystals. So they fight their way out. The Yuzum are just bloody throwing stormtroopers about. They're loving life. And Luke throws a series of grenades and they blow up.
Wait, where do you get the bloody grenades?
He grabbed them off the
Off
wall.
the wall. Where all grenades are held. All right.
And they explode right near Grammel and just like mess him up. We see him
Yeah.
a bit later what happens. And they steal this like all-terrain vehicle.
Does he, spoiler alert, does he survive to be a very low-budget villain
Yes,
for later,
absolutely he
later
does.
comic books and low-budget movies?
Well,
Yeah.
I'll let you know. So
right.
they steal this all-terrain vehicle. So it's the old woman, the Yuzum, C-3PO, R2-D2, Luke and Leia. And they're like, listen, we're going to go to the temple to get the Kyber Crystal. It's 7 to 10 days. That's what they say. That's very specific.
Yep.
But also very vague.
What's that in parsecs?
That's a good question.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah. As this is happening, what's his name gets repaired. The Commander Moff Supervisor General. He gets a new arm, and the woman who repairs him like, listen, I got some bad news. You'll never sweat through this arm again. So I think that's okay though, isn't it?
Like, that's important.
Yeah.
Temperature regulation. What if you're on a Tatooine? You need
No,
to
that's
sweat,
true.
don't
You
you?
need to kind of, yeah.
It's either sweat or just hang out in a moisture farm all day. And who wants to do that?
Yeah.
Awful.
And he's got this big kind of skin graft over his head. But yeah, like you said, he's a pretty like kind of low budget rebuild.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no robot hands or anything going on there. So that Luke and all that, they're traveling for a bit, and then a giant kind of, I don't know, swamp worm attacks them. I don't know, and they kind of run through the forest, and Luke and Leia die.
Here's my question. How does it look in the comic book?
It looks spectacular.
How would it have looked in a movie in 1979?
Real bad. You ever seen Ewok Adventure?
Yeah.
Just like that.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
think of the best thing in that.
Oh, yeah.
And about that good.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they jump down.
Comic books are like little movies,
They
but with an
really
unlimited
are.
budget, you know?
Exactly. So they jump into this pit, and Luke and Leia and the creature comes after them, but it's because it's like front heavy. It just topples in, but it also knocks
Great.
down the,
Nice work,
the
evolution.
rope ladder. Exactly. But it knocks down the rope ladder, so they're stuck down there, and the old woman calls down. She's like, listen, we'll meet you on the other side. Just make your way through the caverns. It's, I don't know, days. Just walk through it, yeah?
Seems a bit Princess Bride.
Yeah, that's right. And she's like, by the way, you might come across some natives along the way, but don't worry, they're friendly. But then she turns to C-3PO and she's like, nah, they're going to be killed. They're in trouble.
There's no need for that aside, lady. Why would you tell anyone? Why do you feel the need? Is it guilt?
Why wouldn't you word them up, though? And be like,
Yeah,
listen,
right?
you're clearly like a couple of people who can look after themselves. Beware that this
That's a really good
will
point.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no benefit. There's no benefit to her lying to them
No,
because if they die, they're no help.
exactly.
Boba Fett style.
Boba Fett style. So, a whole bunch of stuff happens and nothing of note in the caverns. They
Right.
see some glowworms. They use like a giant lily pad to float across an underwater thing or whatever. And then, but in the meantime, Vader lands.
I was going to say that seems like a big budget, but they could probably choose stop motion miniatures.
Yeah, absolutely they could.
Use a real lily pad.
Yeah.
Paint a frog. Put a little karate robe on a frog. Turn it into Luke Skywalker. All right.
Exactly. So Vader lands and he goes to Grammel and he's like, hey, where are they? And Grammel's like, full disclosure, this did not go well. I
Look
lost
at this
them.
arm. I'll never sweat again.
And Vader's
You
like,
can't relate.
and Vader's like, you're an idiot. I'm in charge, right? So the natives do end up attacking Luke and Leia, and Luke does what Luke does best, and he's
Cower.
chopping wood.
Oh, okay.
He's back. He chops.
Mope.
No, chopping wood.
Oh, sure,
This is what
okay,
he's
yeah.
about in this one. He doesn't
Yeah.
mope. He chops wood.
That's right.
He chops one like clean in half. He skewers one like through the torso. One, he severs both of his hands.
Yeah.
And you see the one who gets his hand severed, you see like his face, and he's like, ah! Like you see all of this.
I want to say at this point that if they had made this into a movie,
Yeah.
the dismembered limb budget would have run out like 2 scenes ago, and this would not have happened. Like, you can chop all the limbs you want in a comic book, but
Sure.
by this point, he would have just been hitting them
Like with a wiffle bat.
like a glowing club, and they would have just gone down. And
Exactly. Also, Leia does some killing as well. Hits one with an axe. She's pretty handy herself.
okay.
Anyway, so they get taken to like where all these underground dwelling monsters are. Don't worry, there's not that much left. Just so you know.
so many underground dwelling monsters.
I know.
You'd think miniatures would be cheaper.
I'd imagine you do this like a Ray Harryhausen kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Stop
you can do it on
motion
the
style,
cheap, stop
yeah,
motion,
okay.
whatever. I think.
Or maybe like even existing footage.
Sure,
like
yeah.
Like even get some Ray Harryhausen films that they
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
use anymore and just go, look, skeletons.
No one will notice, yeah?
Yeah, right.
So then when they get there, they realize the old woman and the droids and the Yuzum have been captured.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, listen, Luke, we will let you go, but you have to fight our greatest warrior. And Luke's like, no problem. And they're like...
I'm brash in this one.
And they're like, no lightsaber. And he's like, that is a problem.
Yeah.
And he gets the...
Because that can kill. Lightsaber can kill anything, if I'm honest with you. I don't have to do nothing. I'm terrible at it.
That's right.
I just chop them.
Because when you're the only one with one...
Right, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
So Luke just gets absolutely clocked by this
Yeah.
bloke. And he gets nearly drowned.
Just a regular guy.
No, well, he's like a native alien, whatever, you know what I mean? And as the guy's drowning him, and everyone's like looking on in horror, Luke lifts a rock with the force and hits the guy in the head.
Nice.
So he cheats and he wins.
Yeah, good.
As that goes. And then he becomes their king. They're like, well, you're the king now, I guess.
Huh.
Which is kind of Return of the Jedi with C-3PO when he becomes
Yeah.
the king of the bloody Ewoks or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he has another freak out where he's like, oh my God, Vader's here. Like he senses it.
Uh-huh.
So what they do, they mount an attack on Vader who's coming their way.
Yeah.
And again, it's like Return of the Jedi. They use all the natives and there's like, they're dropping nets and like tipping boulders and pillars onto them or whatever, you know that
They're
goes.
home alone and he's the wet bandit.
Exactly. And Luke's there chopping wood,
Yeah, sure.
as he does.
He's just like, I'm not going to chop you, Darth Vader, but I'm just going to stand here and chop. And if you walk into it, then you're going to get chopped. So
That's on you.
yeah.
So Vader and Grammel have to retreat because they're losing. And as Vader turns around, Leia shoots him in the back.
Uh-huh.
And Grammel's like, oh my God, you just got shot in the back. And Vader's like, I'm fine. But he's not really fine. Also, it doesn't really come into play. But it's weird. He just gets shot and he runs away. But I don't know what to make of that. So
They hadn't fully developed Vader's character yet.
no, they
And
really haven't.
He was ultimately he's kind of a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have his army behind him, he's just like, oh, run away.
That's right. So they make their way to the Kyber Crystal, and when they get there,
Imagine James Earl Jones going, oh, run away.
So they make their way, they get to the Kyber Crystal temple, and they get there just before Vader. And when they go in, Luke has to fight a giant iguana, because that's how that goes.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you want the crystal, you got to fight the giant iguana,
Yeah.
which also turns up in Revenge of the Sith. There's a giant iguana in that.
Is there?
Yeah, Obi-Wan rides it.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
You remember that classic moment,
Don't
yeah?
remember it. Could have been riding anything.
So Luke cuts down like this pillar and it falls on the iguana, but it also pins his leg just as Vader comes in.
Uh-huh. And Luke has to chop off one of his own legs.
Not quite. So Vader's like, I know all the command codes to shut down your droids. They've been shut down. They're outside shut down and I killed your mates. Your Yuzum or whatever.
Yeah.
And this isn't interesting, but people have
Well, I'll be the judge of that.
people have theorized that he was able to shut down C-3PO because he built him. But that's some very retroactive.
You're right, that's not interesting. No, it is interesting. No, it's good. Okay, I like it.
Yeah, but
That's what I'm saying. Get everybody to join their own dots.
link it up.
Yeah.
But the thing is as well, C-3PO has like a switch on his back. Yeah, you can just flick it and you flick it and he shuts down. But anyway, this is where Princess Leia steps up. She grabs Luke's lightsaber and they start fighting.
Oh.
So again, kind of hinting that she's got the Force, but not really, I guess, or whatever. And Vader's just toying with her. He's just like singeing her with his lightsaber. He's like, "This is your shit. This is easy," or whatever.
Love killing somebody I'm not related to. Love it. Just
Easy.
Just toying with them. Feels great. Oh, I can do this to anyone I'm not related to by blood. Ha 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 ha. But he got you again.
So while this is happening, one of the Yuzums
Wait, is he aware that Leia's his daughter?
No, not until like the third one.
Okay, cool.
Oh, sorry, the sixth one. But while this
Wait,
is
no, the 6.5th one.
Rogue One.
Because of... No, and also this.
Oh, I saw this. Well, I guess that makes it seventh.
Oh, yeah.
Because you gotta add them up, don't you?
Yeah, 7th one.
Luke gets freed because one of the Yuzum crawls in and is like, "I'm not dead," and he lifts the boulder off him or whatever.
Yeah.
And then presumably dies. I don't know.
One can only hope.
Yeah. And then it's Luke and Vader. It's their first battle ever, but it's not like Empire Strikes Back where he just gets hammered. Like they're quite evenly matched.
Because he's brash.
He's brash, man. And also he's like, "I've got the spirit of Obi-Wan Kenobi working through me."
Oh.
And Vader's like, "Listen, you're pretty good, but what do you think about this big rock?" And he throws a big rock. But Luke then deflects it with like a smaller rock.
Oh, yeah.
And Vader's like...
Seems implausible, but
yeah,
alright.
well, Vader's like, "That's pretty good, but my rock was slightly bigger." And he actually says something to that effect, which I find kind of really petty, but hey,
Yeah.
he's not a great bloke, is he? And this is when shit gets real interesting.
Ooh.
Luke winds up, takes off one of Vader's arms, like from the shoulder, and then he goes down, like Luke's in trouble.
Now, is that additional meat off?
I guess it would be.
Additional meat has come off there.
I guess
because
yeah.
When did he lose his arms initially? Like elbow?
Yeah, I think it's his right arm, and yeah, he has that down, yeah, about the elbow. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, ooh,
Wow.
that's a bit
You're
rough.
like, oh, barely had any bloody meat on that one. You're taking it right off. Mean.
Yeah, but just before that, Vader's like shooting lightning and Luke's deflecting it and whatever.
Oh.
So it's pretty intense.
Lightning.
Vader can't do that. Well, that's been like, it's been theorized that his suit can shoot lightning or whatever, because Vader can't actually shoot lightning with the Force because he has no hands.
Now that's retroactive.
That is very retroactive.
It's retroactive because they didn't think of lightning bolts until Return of the Jedi.
That's right, exactly. So Vader's missing.
We're joining our own dots.
Correct. That's what you got to do in the Star Wars universe. So bloody Vader rears up. He's got one arm.
Like a horse.
Like a horse.
Like a frightened horse.
No, he's like this towering...
Frightened horse.
But it's this towering, terrifying monster, and Luke's like, "I'm done." And Vader lumbers forward to kill Luke, but in doing so, he trips over his severed arm and falls into a pit.
Great.
And as he goes down, he does the no.
That's
as he
great
kind of
stuff.
falls, not to his death, because I think Luke's like, "Yeah, I think he's still down there." but they
That
leave.
is incredible.
Yeah, and Luke was whatever is the old lady's like, "Listen, I've been no help, clearly, because whenever things happen, I'm not around. You can keep the crystal." And Luke heals himself, and he heals Leia, and then they bugger off. And that's
Wait, with force magic?
yeah, it shoots lightning and so I don't know, but they're fine.
Okay, great.
Everybody's fine,
Yeah.
except for the two alien Yuzum who are not fine,
Yeah.
who died.
And Vader, because he fell in that pit.
Yeah, I mean, he will be fine
Yeah, sure.
eventually.
Yeah.
So, and that's the story of bloody. What is it? Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
I feel that's a good yardstick, I feel, for this particular this bonus podcast. If by the end you're like, and that's the story of, I can't even remember what it's called. Oh, jeez.
But look, the thing is, it's kind of naff, right?
Yes,
it is.
Agreed.
But, and look, an Empire Strikes Back is clearly the bet, like, would have made a better movie, like, if this had been done. But at the same time, I really enjoyed this comic because it's like this weird throwback to like before a lot of the stuff has been established in Star Wars. I like the version of Luke anyway that's in this. So look, I don't think it's without redeeming qualities, Mason, which is why you don't have to read it because I told you, didn't I? That's everything.
I'll give it a little.
You can give it a look, mate.
give it a
But
little
look,
browse.
you know what? I don't mind it. Tune in next time, everybody. We'll do another thing. I'm Mr. Sunday Movies. You can find me at Mr. Sunday Movies.
Wait, did we introduce ourselves at the start? Maybe
We don't
didn't.
need to. People
People are already on board.
if it's on the YouTube, I'll put a thing. And
Nice.
if it's on the podcast, people know.
Nice.
Presumably.
All right, we'll do it next time.
Great.
I'm Nick Mason. I'm at Wikipedia Brown on Twitter.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, grab that jam. We'll see you guys next week. Or whenever this comes out. It's going to be weekly. Who knows?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.